But all right, bro, here we are.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back to the human paradox.
100. So today's episode is going to be about the knowing doing gap.
Explain, what does that
Are
mean?
you excited for that first?
I am, because, I asked you a couple times to send me information on it because I have an idea of what that means, but you seem to have a much more in-depth grasp on it. And I was going to have you send me information on it, and then that never happened, and I realized that's probably a good thing because I'd rather you explain it to me in your own words rather than me go research it.
And here's the thing. If you remember, I told you, me myself, I didn't know much about it and until I stumbled upon it recently.
And just to reiterate, we're talking about the knowing versus doing gap.
Correct.
This phenomenon.
Yes.
Right. So go ahead and explain it to me. What does it mean?
So we often have the knowledge, right, of what we should do, or the awareness, what we should do. Yet, we often fail to act. If anything, we act contrary to our knowledge. And that disconnect right there, I consider it the paradox, right? Which is, if we know better, why don't we do better?
I see what you're saying. So it's funny. I had a completely different idea of what we were going to talk about here. So let me just make sure I got this right. What we're talking about is knowing what we should do, but not doing it.
Correct.
Like in life, broadly speaking.
Yes.
I had my interpretation of it because I come from a very heavy business entrepreneurship background. And you constantly hear this idea that the thing that stops people from being successful is that they do all this research. They learn everything they need to learn about real estate investing. They watch podcasts, they go to seminars, they read books, but they never actually do it. And it's because they don't want to take the leap. They don't want to actually start putting in action. It's easier to gain information than to put the information into action. But that's not exactly what we're talking about, or at least this is just kind of a subset of the overarching principle. When you say, the way you described it, it sounds to me like when you're a kid and your parents get pissed at you because you are told what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do it, but you do it anyway. Right? And I think that happens in life. I think everyone knows that they should make their bed, that they should get up on time, that they should do this, that they should do that, but they don't do it. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Gotcha. So now we're on the same page. I like that. That's a good topic to kind of jump off with here. So tell me more about it. What did you find out?
So basically, one of the reasons why we know yet we don't act on our knowledge, right, is emotional resistance. It could be fear-based, could be anxiety. There's so many things because remember, emotions a lot of times override logic.
Yeah. I find that emotions tend to be a big challenge in many facets of our life.
Okay.
But emotions also are one of the core things that make us what we are in the sense that they provide kind of the color of our life, So they provide a limitation, but they also provide an advantage in some sense. So you're saying that with the knowing versus doing gap, it's emotions that prevent us from doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Certain emotions.
Like, give me an example.
Like I told you, fear is an emotion, for example. You know what to do, right? But the collective is doing something contrary, even though you know what they're doing is wrong, right? But because of fear, you will follow them.
Yeah.
You will not do what's right. So your emotions at that point overrides your logic.
Sure.
And that creates the gap. Even though you know what's right, you wouldn't do what's right because of your fears. And your fears are only happening here in your mind.
Yeah. I think that makes me think of two things. The first thing is when people talk about courage, I think that's what, like, there's this knowing versus doing gap. And the gap is created because of certain emotions, for example, fear.
Okay.
But the gap is overcame because of certain characteristics. For example, courage. Courage in this example where you know what you should do, but the crowd is doing something different, which you know you shouldn't do. But because of fear, you go along with what you're not supposed to do. Courage would be overcoming the gap by, despite your fear, you sticking to your guns, so to speak, and doing what you're supposed to do. The second thing it makes me think of is another emotion, which is, in a broader sense, desire, but in a more specific sense, it's acceptance. People's desire for acceptance, right? And it goes towards what you're talking about with other people. And wanting to be accepted by others. So you do what you think others would.
So you do what's necessary to fit in.
To fit
basically.
in, yeah. And to be honest, I think that when you're young, kids are told a lot of times, don't be afraid to not go along with the crowd. Don't be afraid to, that people will get mad at you if you don't do what they want you to do. That doesn't happen. That doesn't really happen. I think most of the time, you're not doing it out of fear. You're doing it because you want people to laugh. You want people to be happy to be around you. You want to make other people happy. You want to make people like you. You want to be accepted. And you could say that it's, in a deeper sense, it's because of a deeper fear of being alone, not being accepted. But it's interesting that all of this draws back to the one thing, which is emotions and how that drives us. So where do you go from there then?
As far as bridging that gap, that particular gap, the emotional side of it?
If you know that there's a gap between what you know you should do and what you actually do, and those being different, and you know that is because of emotions, emotional limitations, where do you go next? How do you overcome it? Do you try and understand on a deeper level what's going on? Are there, I guess, tricks? Is it just, where do you go for now that we've established kind of what the knowing versus doing gap is, what causes it? Then where do you go?
I mean, we have to understand something, like when it comes down to our emotions and all that, it shows in our behaviors, and our behaviors are governed by our ingrained habits. So in order to change those emotions, we have to change our actions, our form of thought, right? The way we think, the way we perceive life, the way we perceive everything, it has to change first. And then interpret those thoughts into action. It don't have to be big ones or big steps. It can be small wins at a time.
Sure.
And that will help build your confidence.
So how do you change your perspective? Because I think that's something that you kind of hear a lot in life. A lot of people talk about changing your perspective, but what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? What does that look like in real life? Is it hard? Is it easy? Are there tricks? Talk to me about changing your perspective, especially in this context, in the context of doing what you think you should do, like waking up on time, making your bed, and not doing it. How do you change your perspective?
I would say, to me, it's more than perspective, because I spoke to you last time about it outside. And I told you, for me, it's not about perspective as much as it is about perception.
Yeah.
You're having a clear perception of what things are, right?
I remember talking about this.
Yes.
And this is something that I didn't fully understand when we talked about it. What's the difference between perspective and perception to you?
Okay. So to me, perception is my own view, right? And that's why I told you perspective, in my opinion, is a false perception. Perspective is me saying that I'm trying to view life from your point of view, or from where you stand, right? But where you stand is the accumulation of a whole lot that has happened throughout your life.
Okay.
You see? So I can't say I am you truly. To be able to see things the way you see it.
I don't know. It's hard because to me, the word perception and perspective are interchangeable. They seem like the same thing. So I don't see where they're different. Like I could say, what's your perspective on this situation and what's your perception of this situation?
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you what I think, right? Or what's my opinion. And it's all my own perception, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to, even when I'm trying to think for you or I'm trying to make a decision for you, I'm still using my own perception. So whenever we use the term perspective, right? In my opinion, it's like I'm speaking as if I'm you, right? But I don't have your experiences.
But you could say my perspective, which is not in the sense that you're speaking as if you were someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, I feel like you are putting the word perspective in a box for one situation of its use where you're talking about his perspective is this. And in that case, yeah, you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes. People also say my perspective is this. So that's where the disconnect is, where I don't understand how perception is different than perspective. Maybe, okay, so the more we talk about it, the more I think about it. To me, I think perception is more of a live interpretation of what's going on. You perceive things. It is your actual sensing of anything.
Okay.
And that can be very tactile and physical and real. Like if I'm looking out this window, I am literally perceiving what's coming into my eyes. If I'm touching this table, I'm perceiving. It's perception. But it's also conceptual. I can perceive an idea, right? And then the alternative to that is the greater kind of understanding. Like when you put it all together, then you have the what's the other word? The perception and perspective. When you put it all together and you formulate an idea about something, you have a perspective. It's an outlook on something. It is.
So
I've
what you're
taken
saying
in all
is
the
like
information.
your
I've developed
perspective.
an opinion.
Okay, so basically, as if you're saying it's like perceptions is when you're zooming in on something, and perspective is when you're zooming out.
To me, perception is the act of taking in the information. Perspective is after you've processed it, what your output is. Like my outlook on something, like you said earlier, my opinion of something, that's a perspective. Your opinion on an idea, on anything, that's a perspective.
Okay.
But your act of taking it in is your perception. Your act of taking in the information is to perceive. That's perception.
Okay.
Right. So that, I mean, do you agree with that, or do you think that that doesn't fully capture the difference between perspective and perception? And I know we're dialing in on this, but you brought this up in respect to how do we deal with the knowing versus doing gap.
Yes.
So not only, like, I don't think I was on the same page as you as far as what those words mean. So I want to make sure that anyone watching this understands exactly what you mean when you say my perception versus my perspective.
Correct.
And changing your perception versus changing your perspective. Because when you fully understand what those two words mean, then we can move on to how do we affect this knowing versus doing gap.
Correct. Okay. So what I would say is the way you've explained it, right? The perception versus perspective is just another angle of looking at it, and I understand it, and it's acceptable too. To me, I will take it. If you know what I mean.
You mean like my...
Yeah. Like, let's say your observation or your opinion, right, of what perspective is and what perception is, right?
Yeah.
So I will accept that for me because it makes sense too. You know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the way I understand perception and perspective, right? So it's different. Like, let's say that I'm viewing it from a different angle.
Okay.
You're viewing it from a different angle, right? I'm not going to say you're wrong because you're not seeing it the way I see it.
True. Okay. I see what
You
you're
see
saying.
what I'm saying? You just have a different understanding of what it is than mine.
We have different perceptions.
Yes.
Because we're not the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We've had different lives. We are different.
We're two different people.
We're two different people. So no matter what, we can look at the same thing and perceive it completely differently.
Exactly.
Okay. And then perspective to you
is actually me trying to act like as if I'm you, trying to put myself in your shoes. But when I try to put myself in your shoes to view things, to get a better understanding, right, of you, for example, let's say you took an action, right? In order for me to understand why you took that action, right, I have to think the way you think, right? I have to put it into what? Perspective.
Oh, putting something into perspective. That's the way that you're using that.
Yes.
I see. Putting it into perspective. Okay. That makes sense. So let's transfer this back to the original thing. And where we were at is, how do you deal with the knowing versus doing gap and the fact that it's emotions that leads to that gap? What are we doing about that? Kind of reiterate what you did originally.
Okay, so basically, like what I said earlier, is emotions often override our logics, right?
Yeah.
So as a result of that, we need to limit acting on emotions, right? Especially if it's fear-based, anxiety, and all these things.
Okay. Yeah. Go
because
ahead. I wish I had something right with myself, man. You came prepared. Here, I got notes. I can take notes right here.
No problem.
All right, keep going. I have something to say about that, but I want you to keep going. So, limiting acting on emotions.
Yes. So I just mentioned some of the emotions like fear, anxiety, and then you also have shame, sometimes even comfort, can paralyze our action despite of our understanding.
Oh, yeah. I totally get that.
You see?
Yeah.
So that means we have to change that, right? Into what? Start taking small actions, because we are trying to change habits. You see? Because fear doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Even though we say fear is illusion, all these emotions are an illusion, but they're based on something, right? So we need to change that by changing our behaviors.
Okay.
Right.
And you're talking about changing your behaviors, meaning changing like the way you react to emotions.
Because remember what I said earlier, our behavior, right, is our ingrained habits, right? Or it's governed by our ingrained habits.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we change our habits, our behaviors will change.
Okay, I see that. Yeah, I get that. It seems like behavior's something that you can't directly change your behavior, but you can change your habits.
Exactly.
And all this goes back to not acting on emotions. Is that right? That's kind of your train of thought, is that
exactly
the goal
not
is
to act on certain emotions, because some emotions, they serve a purpose.
I'm glad you said that, because that was my take. Is I think emotions serve a really, really powerful purpose in our life. And I think that oftentimes, I'm just gonna start here. I believe that men and women are very different, and that they have very different skills and strengths and purposes in this universe. And I think that oftentimes men kind of talk about women being overly emotional in a negative sense, but I think that's their strength. I think the fact that women are more in tune with emotions and more perceptive of emotions, that gives them a certain strength. And I think that men are not the opposite, but our strengths are more in concrete things. We're more, our strength is more in logic and tactile and here and now and that serves a purpose for us, but that doesn't mean that that's the only purpose that exists. So I think that men a lot of times, like for example, with stoicism and certain trains of thought, there's this kind of idea that persists sometimes that the more robotic and less you can act on passions, the better off you are. And I think that's very wrong. I think that emotions serve a very valuable purpose in our life, in our universe. And I think that to try and disconnect yourself from them is dangerous and counterproductive, really. Okay. So when you say try not to act on emotions, you clarify that by saying certain emotions. And I'm glad you did that because we're talking about things like fear, the fear of not fitting in, things like that. Laziness, right? That kind of stems from an emotion. If we unpack it more, I'm sure we can do that. But laziness, I think, is another thing that creates that knowing versus doing gap.
Correct.
And comfort. You talk about comfort. Yeah. Comfort can be dangerous and disconnecting from that. And I think that they also serve a wonderful purpose. Fear, comfort, laziness. I think they serve a wonderful purpose. And it's not so much about trying not to act on them. It's about trying to understand them and why they're there before you act and not acting blindly on them. Because you don't just want to say, I'm just not going to act on any emotions. I'm going to ignore my emotions. I'm going to try and shove them in a box and put them away and hope they stop coming. Or if they do, I'm just not going to let them affect the way I act. I think that is counterproductive. I think what's better is to say, I'm going to try and be aware of my emotions. I'm going to try and be aware of when I'm wanting to do something that I shouldn't do because I want to fit in. I'm going to be aware of, I know I should do this, but I'm really tired and I'd rather sit on the couch. Like, be aware of the emotions that you're feeling and then make decisions after your perception of the emotions. Because if you realize that you're about to do something because of an emotion and you can stop, I'm about to do this because of this emotion. As soon as you recognize that, all the power goes back into you. Now the free will is back in your hands. So I think you were on the right track by saying trying not to act on certain emotions, but I think it's trying not to react to certain emotions. Trying not to, an emotion comes and without thought, you act on it. Without thought, you act on it. I think thought is what makes us godlike. That's where we have our divinity is.
But
with
remember, thought comes before the emotion.
That's not true. I don't agree with that.
Yes.
I think emotion comes first naturally, but we need to stop when we experience it, not act on emotion right away, but rather let thinking come into, I guess, harmony or like balance with emotion.
I think what you're trying to say when you say thought is rationalization. Rationalizing that feeling or that emotion.
I don't know about rationalizing, but rather
I think that's what you mean when you're saying perception. Thought, but you can clarify.
I mean perception. You know how we talked about that one time, like I think seeing is being. I think to perceive is to exist. And because we can see and we can experience and we can that's our existence and that's how other things exist.
Mhm.
I think thought is that. I think thought is another way of describing perception and consciousness. I don't think it's the act of rationalizing. I think rationalizing is a tool of thought. I think thought is the act of perceiving. So when I talk about emotions come up just like they just happen. Like you're driving. This happens to me. I'm so stubborn, man. When I drive and my fiance tells me like, get off here, do this, do that, and like I already know, it drives me up a wall. Like I know, and I need you to tell me. But she'll say like, I go north here. This is your exit. Don't miss it. Immediately, I don't think. I just get frustrated, and then I think about it. That's why I'm saying, and it's, I guess, in the sense like I perceive the emotions, like I feel them first.
But what if it comes wrapped up, or let me say it's an undercover thought that I already know, right? So I don't need you, right, to tell me what to do because I already know. And then it interprets that, right, into a feeling, and that feeling comes out whether positively or negatively.
You got me there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like emotions are like prepackaged thoughts, kind of.
Exactly.
And I guess I kind of also put my foot in my mouth a little bit because I'm saying that to me, thought is perception, but to feel an emotion is to perceive.
Because remember, that's what, if you studied manifestation, right? Manifestation starts as a thought that becomes a feeling.
You're right.
And then it's carried out as an action.
I think you convinced me. I think I was talking about rationalizing emotions. Like emotions come first, and that is a form of thought. I mean, it's your brain processing information and creating a response to it, which is the emotion. The emotion doesn't just happen. It's a response to your brain processing things. That's thinking.
Yeah.
So I am talking about rationalizing it. You're right.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go, man. You convinced me. I'm a hard-headed guy. Not many people can just flip me like that. You got me, man.
Hey, I'm doing the listening, so.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, let's rein it back in here. All right. So the whole thing was talking about trying not to act on emotions. And I think we're on the same page, but my clarification was I don't want people to interpret that in kind of a straight up stoic sense where it's like, don't let emotions affect you in any way. Be more robotic. Be more, not robotic, but just more stable. More.
Exactly.
I think that people should experience good and bad emotions. I think that they should experience passions and live a life of dark and bright and beautiful colors. And I think that that is not just better, but I think it is essential to what our core purpose is in existing. I think it's essential to connecting with where we come from. Because we're a product of existence and colors and patterns and chaos. And that is what emotions are. And I think you don't want to suppress them. You want to be more cognizant of them and be more aware of them when they happen, and just don't let them drive your immediate reaction. So I don't know. Let's go from there.
Well, I mean, yeah. And I also want us and everybody that's watching to look at it this way. The knowing doing gap, right? Let's not look at it as a fault within the human being as much as it is a feature, right? That leaves out an invitation for us to grow and to be able to do better.
An invitation to grow and do better.
Exactly. Because if you always know and you always do what you know, right? It's kind of like you're just programmed, right? And that kind of takes away the free will.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I know I'm taking this somewhere else, but if we think about it, if I know and I act on what I know, what's the difference between you and AI? So you need those emotions. You need those emotions. That's what makes you a human being.
So the gap drives change.
Exactly.
Because if there was no gap, if we just acted completely on our rationale on what we should and shouldn't do, we wouldn't be human.
We can't just be all logic, no emotion.
So if you're frustrated because you're not doing what you feel like you should do, and you take that and you twist it and like, this is great because this is what makes me alive. This is what makes me human, is that I'm not doing exactly what I think I should do. I'm not an animal. I'm not an AI. Like I'm a human that knows what he should do, but still doesn't do it for some weird reason.
Exactly.
And that's actually a beautiful thing. And I should just embrace the suck a little bit, like embrace the challenge.
And it also leaves you the room to seek and to understand why. Because at the end of the day, remember what they say, seekers are the true believers.
Yeah. That's the truth, man.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Because if you truly want to understand, you'll begin to seek. Only those who feel like they don't know are the one that seek. You can't teach someone that knows everything.
Oh yeah, that's the truth. I think I mentioned this on the first episode, but I grew up Catholic, like Roman Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was baptized, went to church on Sundays, received communion. My grandparents are Roman Catholic. It was, you know, not like my family wasn't hardcore. Like if we missed church, whatever. My family wasn't like shoving Catholicism down my throat, but it was our tradition and we respected it the best we could. Well, I went to Catholic kindergarten through 8th grade school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I rode my bike to school from like 4th grade to 8th grade. And I think around 6th or 7th grade, I actually remember the moment. I think I did mention this last time, but I remember the moment really well where I was riding my bike home. And, you know, I had always been a very introspective person where I thought about my own beliefs, like metacognition. I thought about the way I thought about things. And I remember I had this kind of like moment that was kind of terrifying. It was like an admission. It was like for a long time in my heart, I didn't agree with or believe in the things that I was practicing, but I never really admitted it to myself consciously. And I was riding my bike and one day I was like, I don't believe in these things.
Okay.
And I want to understand that more. I want to know what I do believe in. And it's not that I'm saying like I realized that I was an atheist. Like I believed in something. It was just that the cookie cutter packaged belief system that was handed to me by my father, my school, my teachers, my church, my community, it didn't fit, because I think that beliefs, especially of a like religious nature, are like a fingerprint. They're completely unique to everybody in their heart because they're based on experience, they're based on perception, they're based on information that you gain throughout your life. And I was like, this stuff that they're saying is the reality of this universe. It just doesn't make sense to me. It seems too animated. It seems too, there's a big guy in the cloud, a big white man in the clouds with an old gray beard that looks down and watches all of us at the same time. It didn't work for me. And I admitted that it didn't work. And that started me on a journey of seeking, which led me to understanding what I do believe. And funny enough, it led me back to the beginning where then I realized like, oh, Catholicism, Judaism, which is its root.
Okay.
You know, Islam, the religion of Islam, Kabbalism. What else is there? The, Hermetic kind of practices. All of these like ancient Greek and Roman kind of underground cultic kind of stuff. Like all these things are rooted in the same core. And that core is what I discovered. When I started seeking, I discovered something that I did believe and agree with. And then I realized, like, oh, Catholicism, Judaism, all these other religions, like, they also kind of line up with the same thing that I discovered. They're just packaged in a weird way to help people that don't go out and seek it.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of my little digression on this seek to understand, right? And that goes back to the knowing versus doing gap. Like,
it's kind of like what you're saying is like everybody get a taste of the truth, but everybody gets a diluted taste of the truth.
Yeah. Because you have to get it somehow. You can't just wake up one day and know all the truth.
Okay.
And you might be handed the truth, but you're not going to understand it until you put the work in.
That's okay. Yeah, you're right. Because a lot of people think just because you know something means you know how to do it. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
You might know about something, right? You know how to drive a car, but you don't know how,
Sure. Oh, that's a great way of putting it, man.
Yeah.
You might watch your parents drive cars all the time, but if you get in this, I remember first time I drove on the highway, man. I'd seen it plenty of times, but it's a feeling thing.
Yeah.
It's a feeling thing.
Exactly.
And you have to put the work in to gain that. So, and you kind of, this came up again, knowing versus doing gap, and experiencing it as, hey, this is a challenge. This is what makes me human. I want to seek why. I want to seek out, why am I not doing it? Rather than being frustrated that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, just examine, just seek, try and understand. And enjoy the process. There's that like cliche that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But it's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
And it applies to this as well. Instead of being like, why am I not meeting my goals? Like, I know that, and I use this example of like making your bed, getting up on time, because I think that's one that most people will know they should do. Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah. It's like a self-help classic, right? Get out of bed on time, make your bed. Most people, a lot of people don't do it, even though they know they should, and they might be frustrated that they don't. Like, in the moment, they're like, I'm not going to do it. And then later, they're like, I wish I would have done it. Yeah. And they're frustrated. My take on what you've taught me here, what we've discovered here, is that look at this as like, this is the way I see it sometimes, is look at it and laugh.
Yeah.
I'm such a silly human. I know what I should do, but I just don't do it. And that's what makes me human.
Exactly.
And you know what? It just shows me that there is more ways for me to grow. I can keep growing. I'm not
exactly. It leaves you room for improvement.
I'm not set the way I should be. Like, you look at any animal in nature, there's a little bit of a difference between other animals and us. They're set a certain way and they stay that way. We're set a certain way and we change, we can grow, we have that capability. And having this gap, it makes us human. It shows us a potential way that we can grow, not like the way we have to grow, just a potential way we can grow. And it gives us an opportunity to try and examine ourselves and seek out, why didn't we do it? Maybe we can learn something about ourselves, come to understand ourselves more deeply, come to understand the world more deeply. And that's what it's all about, is understanding. So it's kind of a beautiful thing, the knowing versus doing gap, what it offers us.
Exactly. And also one of the big reasons, right, is for us not taking action based on what we already know is delayed consequences. Because especially when it comes to the right actions, right? Let me give you an example, right? Exercising, right? This is another classic example too. So you know that if you exercise, right, it's gonna help you health wise. Eating healthier is gonna help you, right? Saving money is gonna help you.
Yeah.
But all these right things, if I'm gonna go and exercise, going to the gym, I'm not gonna see results until 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
In, right? Depending on where I started, and what my goal is.
Yeah, delayed gratification versus immediate gratification.
But doing the wrong actions, like, oh, you know what? I'm just
provides immediate.
Exactly. Bingo.
Well, and that's a very talked about topic. Um, and I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's interesting in light of this knowing versus doing gap. And I think it kind of goes back to the same thing, like, it is what makes us human.
Yeah.
But how do we approach that? Because that's a little bit different than, and I think it's also more common. I think that there are instances where, or maybe it's always delayed versus immediate gratification, but I think we've unpacked half of the thing here. Like, we've unpacked how to change your perception, which in turn changes your.
I wouldn't say it changed your perspective. It just, when you grow your perception, right, you have to expand your logic. So, and the expansion of logic comes either with more understanding or more acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely changes your perception. Like, that's what we've uncovered. We've uncovered how to change your perception in a more positive way. How to look at you not doing what you're supposed to do in a more positive way. But at the end of the day, like, when you unpack it, it almost, I don't like talking in absolutes, but it is almost always choosing immediate gratification over delayed gratification. Almost. So I think kind of unpacking that, which many
that's
people
our
have.
ingrained habits, inherited beliefs, all these things.
Yeah. I think many people have unpacked this in many ways, but I still think it's worth addressing in the context of what we're doing here, the human paradox. And the delayed gratification versus immediate gratification, that is part of our human experience, right? The what do they call it? The human condition, right? This battle. It's part of what makes us human, is that we don't always go for, or we have the capability of choosing delayed gratification over immediate gratification. And I think the fact that we're frustrated that we didn't choose delayed gratification makes us human. Any animal that does what's best for them right now rather than something that's better for them in the long run, they're not frustrated about it.
That's true.
It's something that's unique to us. So how do you approach that problem of immediate versus delayed gratification?
I would say self-accountability. You have to hold yourself accountable.
Easier said than done.
That's true. And that's why you use something else. Exterior support.
I thought you were going to be like, use something else. Atoms by Atomic Habits, the sponsor of today's podcast. Perfect segue into a sponsorship.
Oh, no. I mean, at the end of the day, or when I say, let me say external support.
Yeah.
Right. You can use your friends. Hey, you know what? When are you going to be going to the gym?
Yeah.
Talk to your family members. Hey, when are you going to be going to the gym? Or you want to go out to jog? Find someone that does that certain activity, right? And hold yourself accountable to show up every day.
Yeah.
So that will help you, because a lot of people nowadays are about motivation.
But here's the thing. We're not talking about anything new. We're talking about the same thing that every self-help, person talks about or book talks about. But I think that there is a little bit more to be unpacked about this. And here's my experience with this.
Okay.
Because I've struggled with this a lot, where I've been very disciplined and I've been very undisciplined and borderline hedonistic.
Okay.
Right. And that's like the two extremes here are hedonism, which is just doing whatever you want right now. Right?
Yeah.
Just satisfying whatever you want right now. And the alternative is just, I don't know a good word for it, but like maximum discipline and accountability. Only do it. There is no gap. You only do what you know you should do. And you do that regardless of current gratification. There is no respect for current gratification. And here's what I think. I think that people talk about the push towards more delayed gratification and being disciplined and doing what you know you should do, because by default, most people lean the other way. Most people do what they want now and forego what they think they should do and that's better for the long run. But I think because we're talking about changing perception, what I've experienced with this is that you got to give yourself some slack here. I mean, you have to change your sights. You can't be miserable because you're constantly putting off for your future self. Because one day you're going to die and you're not going to have a future self on this earth, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to give yourself something now. And there is a balance here. And this is what it comes down to for me. You have to listen to your heart. And I know that sounds cliche. I want to unpack that a little bit more.
I agree with that.
You have to listen to what you feel like your current circumstance is, because I'll tell you this, there are times where I wake up every day and I just hedonism. Like I just do whatever I want. I lay in bed, I eat crap food, I drink soda, I don't work out, I play video games, I eat more crap food, I go to sleep, I scroll on reels, I just nothing good, just everything that's nothing good for the long run, just things that satisfy what I want right now. And when I've been pushing myself so hard with work and school and working out and eating healthy, man, those days feel good. They feel so good, and I feel like I deserve this. But when I do it over and over and over again, I get like, I need to go on a run. Like I need to, if you let yourself swing back and forth, it's okay, as long as you examine yourself and you self-correct, because you can burn yourself out being too disciplined, and you will drive yourself nuts being too hedonistic. The delayed gratification versus immediate gratification, so many people look at it as like, I need to only go for delayed gratification and forego immediate gratification. No, I think that you need to embrace what you need today, right now, in the sense that if my body needs to work towards my future, if I need to start getting in shape, if I need to start being productive because I feel like crap because I'm not doing anything with my life, then do it. And do it until you're like, oh, I don't do anything for myself. I don't do anything I want to do. And embrace the alternative. Embrace the, oh man, I'm about to pull out one of the best words for you. Embrace the enantidromia of life. You know what that word means?
No, I was going to ask you to explain that one.
Enantidromia. I'm just going to look it up. I remember I could tell you the person that told me this word. Enantidromia. Enantidromia is from Greek philosophy. It's when anything reaches an extreme and inevitably turns into its opposite. It's the yin and yang. It's the ups and downs of life. It exists everywhere.
So too much of anything, it could hurt.
Yeah, not that. It's that.
Okay.
It's that anytime you go too far one way, the pendulum swings back. Don't fight the swing. Embrace the swing. If you are upset because you're not doing anything you want to do, but you still don't want to do it, keep swinging into hedonism until you're fed up with yourself and you don't have any choice but to start doing what you want to do because you're miserable. And then when you're doing everything you need to be doing, but it's just like you feel like you don't have a life, let yourself swing back and just embrace what's going on right now, man.
So if I get you right, what you're trying to say is basically you can't be disciplined or devoted to something if you're not passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, can be too passionate about one particular thing without being mindful. So what you're saying is like we have to be mindful of our passions, right? Because it helps our devotion.
I think our passions, when running rampant, can destroy us. And I think that mindfulness, when pushed too far can snuff out passion, and a life without passion isn't a life worth living.
Okay. I respect that.
That's kind of where we're at with this delayed versus immediate gratification. What I'm trying to say is that you need to let yourself go in both directions, and it will happen. As much as you want to eat that bag of Doritos and lay in bed and not get up, I'm not saying to just embrace it so much that it just destroys you and that you get extremely overweight and unhealthy. I'm just saying that let yourself do it until a point where you're upset, and then start pushing in the other direction, knowing that it's not you're doing it for the rest of your life. You're not going to get up and make your bed and work out and have this perfect, beautiful routine with no passion for the rest of your life. You're going to do it. It's a push. You're just going to do it until you are ready to just veg out a little bit again and embrace these swings. So this knowing versus doing gap, if you have this gap where like there's all these habits that you want to have, so many people say motivation be damned. Motivation, you don't need motivation, you need discipline, because motivation comes and goes, but discipline is forever. And it's like, no, you might have the motivation right now to be disciplined, but the point is that motivation will go away, but you can still be disciplined. When the motivation goes away, go where the motivation takes you. Follow your heart, follow the passions that you have. And when the passions become too destructive, what is really happening is your passions are leading you towards wanting more structure and discipline. So just let yourself swing in both directions. Don't be so hard-lined in one direction that you need to have delayed gratification.
So what you're saying is like you got to have more flexibility to you. Okay.
Yeah. Again, we're humans. We're not robots. We're not AIs. Don't try and be.
Yes.
Don't try and be. Don't try and be perfect. Don't seek to do exactly what you're supposed to do always, because that's not a way to live a good life, a eudaimonic life. There's another one. I'm pulling out all the big ones today. A eudaimonic life is like the goal. It's like a happy, fulfilled, satisfied life.
Yeah.
It's my phone. We'll cut it out.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're an hour in?
Yeah.
Shoot.
I know.
For real?
We're 53 minutes in. I know, man.
I didn't even feel it, bro.
I know.
I didn't even feel it.
I know.
It felt like only like 10 minutes.
I'm going to be honest with you. The whole knowing versus doing gap, I was ready to embrace it, but I was like, it doesn't seem like the right topic, because like I said, I had it in the context of like entrepreneurship and stuff and business and stuff, but not in life. And I think this has been a great topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And leading into this, I don't know. I want to examine the delayed versus immediate gratification more. I want to think about it in terms of my like understanding of the universe and what is this like immediate versus delayed gratification phenomenon. I think I don't know, is it synonymous with the knowing versus doing gap? Is it the same thing?
Is it the same thing?
Is it the same thing as...
In what sense?
In the sense that delayed gratification is knowing. Immediate gratification is doing with a gap. Like when you do something that is not what you know you should do, that is delayed gratification, versus what you know you should do. Or I'm sorry, I had it backwards. Doing something that is not what you know you should do is immediate gratification, versus doing what you know you should do is delayed gratification. And to me, they're kind of the same thing. So to talk about one is to talk about the other. So to try and unpack this whole immediate versus delayed gratification, we could say the same thing. Like, if you're frustrated with doing not doing what you feel like you should do all the time, then you just need to embrace it as I'm human. This is what makes me human. This is just showing me how I can grow. It's just an opportunity. It's just an invitation to grow. And I think that might be the same thing. We're kind of unpacking it as two different things, but I don't know if it is.
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure that if I got you, so I'm trying to listen to you more to figure out exactly where you're trying to go with this, or what's your question.
I'm trying to examine. I'm not happy with basically everything I said just now about the immediate versus delayed gratification. I'm not saying I don't feel like I agree with what I just said. I do agree with it, but I don't think it puts I don't think it closes the box on the subject of immediate versus delayed gratification the way I want. And when I just said, like, I want to examine this more, and I kind of just thought about it, and I'm like, I feel like delayed versus immediate gratification, like everything we talked about in the first half with change, the knowing versus doing gap, and how it's emotions creating limitations, and it's better to realize that it's our humanity. It's what makes us human, and we need to embrace that and be happy that we have that. And it's an invitation to change. And as long as we always have that, then we'll always be human and we'll always be able to grow.
But
isn't it the same thing? That's what I'm trying to get at. Isn't it the exact same thing as immediate versus delayed gratification? When we are embracing immediate gratification and foregoing delayed gratification, and that's upsetting or frustrating, can't you take the exact same perspective?
Can't you?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
I'll have to think about that, actually. I wouldn't want to give an answer.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is I almost feel like, you put a lot of thought into the knowing versus doing gap. We're kind of like free flowing on immediate versus delayed gratification.
Yes.
And I said all this stuff, but if I could go back, I'd almost be like, if you're worried about immediate or delayed gratification, just replace those words with knowing versus doing gap and listen to the first half, because the same thing applies. That's kind of the sense that I'm feeling about this now, is that we're talking about the same thing. It's two different ways of describing the same issue or lack thereof.
But you know what? It's like, what I like about doing this, right, is number one is, for us, it's not about getting the right answers, right? Yeah. But about asking the right questions.
Yeah, and exploring.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's not just what we think, it's about what other people think too, Yeah. And there's definitely people that knows more. So I would love to hear from them too. I would love to hear from everybody what they think, what's their opinion, Yeah. So to me, that's what this all is about. It's about asking the right questions. It's not about getting the right answer, because you might never get the right answer. Like you mentioned earlier, you got to be flexible in life. Yeah. Life itself is flexible. We live
in a soup of chaos. We're products of chaos.
I call it organized chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because it's like in this big chaotic soup, you get these instances of patterns emerging. They come and go.
I would say this, right? You've seen how sound travels, right?
Yeah.
And that's how one time I was trying to rationalize this. Like, why is life like that? Like, why are we always like, sometimes we'll have our good moments, sometimes we'll have our bad moments, right? So if you observe, if life is all about vibrations and frequencies, how does vibration and frequency travels. It doesn't travel in a straight line. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's kind of what our life is.
That is an antidromia. When you reach a peak, you go in the other direction. When you reach a trough, you go back in the other direction.
And
that's what our life is.
What I figured.
It's not
down
straight.
Is the fastest way up, and up is the fastest way down.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I mean, I'm excited to, I feel like if we listen to this again, we're going to pull up some stuff to talk about in the next one. Because
100%.
That's an hour and 1 minute.
Ooh.
Right. That was good, though. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the next one.
I would just like to close up with a quote.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
So it goes like this. The real wisdom lies not just in knowing what's right, but in building the courage, clarity, and consistency to live it.
Say that again. I want to listen to it again.
The real wisdom lies not just in knowing what's right, but in building the courage, clarity, and consistency to live it.
Yeah. I like that. And to just putting that in perspective is that word building.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real. What was the very first part of that quote? The real
wisdom.
The real wisdom in all of this.
In all of this lies
is that one verb, building. Building.
Because
that's
we're all
the journey.
building ourselves.
The goal isn't just doing what you know you should do. It's building the courage, clarity, and what was the last one?
Courage, clarity, and consistency.
It's building those things. That's the real wisdom. That's the journey. It's not about the goal. It's the journey. So
that's why you can't worry about anybody's pace.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap this up. I appreciate it, man.
No, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. That's a wrap.
Yeah. That's beautiful.